some of you want a godly relationship more than you want to be godly. Again, these are the 10 things we would tell you if we weren't afraid to offend you. It's not emotional purity just because you didn't sleep with them. Flirting for attention is still selfish.
You know, a lot of women struggle with this, like the temptation to have to like shrink yourself and become small. And like, oh, I'm too ambitious, I'm too accomplished. Men are going to be intimidated by me, and like thinking you're just overall too much. And it's like, no, like who God has for you, like is going to love that about you.
What's up, fam? Welcome back to our channel. My name is Tim. This is my beautiful wife, Pauline, and you're tuning into another episode of the W Podcast, where you get wisdom in the word with the
Wheeler.
Hey, so we are super excited to be back this week. We have an amazing episode. It's so interesting because in life, what I've found is that typically the best way to accomplish what you want to accomplish, a lot of times can come from getting feedback from people. But a lot of times the feedback you need and the feedback somebody gives you is not always the same thing.
Right.
Because somebody usually is a little afraid to really give you the 10%. Like if they really gave you every single thing on their mind that could help you be the better version of you.
The honest truth, yes.
It may hurt your feelings a little bit. But that 10% could actually help you a lot better become whatever you want to become in your life. And I bring that up because today we want to talk about the 10 things that we would tell you about Christian dating if we weren't afraid to offend you.
Are you offendable?
See, we have over, 200 videos, 500 videos? I don't know. Look at that YouTube. About dating. And we've always told you the truth.
Right.
We always kept it real, always kept it 100. But this episode is going to be that 10%.
Yeah.
This episode might have you feeling some type of way.
Enter with caution. At your own risk.
But the cool thing is that conviction, if you feel convicted from anything we shared today, is a gift, not a punishment.
Yeah.
So remember that, because you cannot build a godly relationship on half-truths or nice sayings that are kind of true but not all the way true. So we want to help you not cycle through dysfunction if that's where you find yourself, or if you've had a good relationship past, we want to help you take that next level. So we're going to share those things that you need to hear even if you don't want to hear it.
Yeah, our goal for you with this episode, and every episode, but especially this episode, is that you don't just end up married. Like, that's all what we're about. We're not just about you, like, hey, how do we get you from first date to the aisle? We want you to honor God the entire way through, so that honoring God in marriage is something that you are used to and that you enjoy and that you want and that you've been trained to look for and to do. And if it means us saying the hard thing in order for you to honor God where you are in your dating relationship, we are willing to do that. So don't get mad at us in advance. You've been warned. This is not for people who don't want to grow. This episode is not for people who don't want to grow. It's not for people who don't want to hear the truth. So let's take a deep breath. Know that we're holding your hand as we say this. And remember, you're going to get really, really influenced by a lot of things that you listen to. And like, you know, you're out here listening to music and watching Netflix and videos and whatever it is your favorite thing, your favorite follower or favorite influencer is today. But like, a lot of what we're getting influenced by is not biblical. And we want to kind of disrupt your regular scheduled programming of like media and what influences you, because a lot of what we're seeing in media is like honestly sets your expectation and your vision, and it's a lot of reasons why a lot of you guys are heartbroken because your expectations and you're modeling off of something that's not godly.
And I think most people know that, for example, Love Island is not real life. Like, that's not how you're going to find love, or Love is Blind, or even your favorite song. It's not really how relationships work, but we don't realize that those things still subconsciously impact how we view love in our own love life. So let's get into it. The 10 things we would tell you if we weren't scared to offend you. Number 1, stop waiting to feel peace, quote unquote, while you keep ignoring red flags.
Yeah, this one is tough.
Why?
Because I think it's something that we hear that a lot of you guys want, and it's something that is so reasonable because it just comes whenever it comes to making decisions in general, whether it's to take a job or to buy a house or buy a new car, whatever type of like kind of major decisions that you're making, let alone, you know, who you're going to date and potentially marry. Like, you want to feel peaceful about it. You want to feel good about it. But what does peace even really feel like? And it's one of those things that's like kind of Christianese, churchy language that nobody really knows what it means. And it can be an easy way to, in a way, make a, like, justify a decision that you're making of like, oh, I didn't feel peace about it, or oh, I felt peace about it, this is why I moved forward with this person. So we really need to clear this up for everybody.
Yeah, because a lot of times we can make ourselves feel peace. Like, we're very good at talking ourselves into anything. And you got to be careful that you're not mistaking your disobedience for discernment because you feel good. You know, the Bible talks about a man's ways feel or seem right in his own eyes.
Right.
But the Lord is the only one who can actually tell you if you're moving in the right direction that he wants you to go. And that peace that you're seeking isn't going to come passively. Like, you're actually going to have to talk to the Lord. You're actually going to have to talk to mentors and have other people speak into your love life. And you can't date in silos if you're going to do that. So that's just something you got to really be mindful of.
Yeah, and for us, I know, at least when I was in the dating space and before we became, like, you know, official boyfriend and girlfriend, it can be really easy to kind of feel like, oh, I didn't feel good about it. And I know for me, that kind of whole myth, I don't want to say myth, but like that confusion around like feeling peace. I didn't, you know, want to date, not just you, but anybody, because I didn't feel like I was in a place where like I should be dating. I feel like, oh, I need to get a job, like a full-time job, and like get my life together and get my money right and all these things before I start talking about dating. And then I had, you know, like a big sister mentor who was like, no, like, you're not getting married tomorrow.
Well, yours was the opposite. You were waiting to feel peace while ignoring some green flags that your mentor saw.
Right.
In your boy.
Right. Which, if that's true, like, the reverse can be true as well, where it's like, oh, well, I don't personally see this as a problem. I really like them. We get along really well. So, like, the red flags will, you know, kind of go away over time.
He smoked weed. It's from the earth. You know,
it's
like,
natural. He only does it once a week. It's not as bad as the guy I was dating before.
It's just edibles. Like,
yeah, like, you can really talk yourself out of anything, or like, hey, at least he goes to church, even if he doesn't read his Bible, or if he's on his phone the whole time, whatever the case is. And we're being, like, you know, kind of silly with you guys, but you can kind of ask yourself too, is like, is this something that I am feeling, or is it something that I know, that I've seen evidence of? And we kind of want things to be okay. I think deep down, because we're just afraid to be alone.
Yeah.
And we're afraid to walk away from something or to challenge ourselves.
You brought up church. That leads us to our second point, that just because they go to church does not mean they're healed enough to date. And a lot of times, for whatever reason, we can associate church attendance with character when it doesn't always equal that. Even if they go above and beyond and they're showing up to 6 a.m. prayer, if your church offers something like that, that doesn't automatically mean that they have character that you need. You want to see fruit, not just a vibe, not just cuteness, not just...
Or a habit,
Yeah, you want to look for humility in their life. Or do they repent? Do they have accountability? What actions are they actually showing you outside of church that show that they have the character you want in somebody you want to marry?
Yeah, and I think one way you can also think about this is like, not, if you're wondering, oh, what is fruit? How is that different than like a habit of like, oh, they go to church every week or they serve every week or whatever the case is. Think of fruit as results. So like, obviously you can plant a tree that doesn't produce fruit, it's not useful to you. And like the Bible talks about that too, that like if you're not producing fruit, you're not useful. And the way that I like to think of it is like thinking about going to the gym. So there are people, and I have been people at times where like you're working out regularly, but you're not seeing any results. So what good is it for me to say I go to the gym 5 days a week, but I'm gaining 2 pounds every single week because my eating habits are awful and I eat whatever I want. I eat McDonald's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. boasting about going to the gym is not really helpful. It's a habit, but it's not fruitful. It's not producing anything. It's the same way it goes for church. You can go to church every Sunday, Wednesday night Bible study, Tuesday night small group. You can do all the things, serve from sun up to sundown, but if it's not changing the way that you respond when you're angry, if it's not changing the way that you give, if it's not bless you, if it's not changing the way that you forgive or you repent, and like how, if it's not producing fruit, or like Galatians 5 says, the love, joy, peace, goodness, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness, patience, and self-control, if those things are not present in your life, what good is it for you to go to church?
I think another way to think about it, that's good, but another way to think about it also is you can know what their fruit is by looking at how they react to things. So right. If they have a situation happen to them that's not favorable, do they react with self-control? Mm-hmm. Do they react with love? Do they react with peace and joy? Like, look at how they're reacting to things as well, and that can show you a lot. Because a lot of times when you're reacting, that's your natural instinct. If I stub my toe on the edge of the counter or on the edge of the cabinet, what naturally reaction comes out of me? Yeah, I'm struggling to get this out. That's all right. What natural reaction you get from hurting yourself, that shows you a lot about what's inside. Right. Because they didn't have time to think about, what's the right thing to say.
Right. And that doesn't, obviously people are growing and changing all the time, but you still
consistently
need to know,
though.
Yeah, over time, like there's this saying.
You cuss every time?
That I'm butchering about, like, when life squeezes you, like what comes out is who you really are. And that's basically what you just said, of like, it's very easy to respond well when you're not under pressure. And we'll talk about this in a future episode of like, boundaries people have when they're broken. That really tells you who they are. So it's not really about the habits of them. Do they go to church? Do they go to the gym? Do they show up to work on time? Like, those things are like bare minimum.
Yeah. So number 3, some of you want a godly relationship more than you want to be godly. Again, these are the 10 things we would tell you if we weren't afraid to offend you.
So if you feel offended, it's on par. It's on cue.
So a lot of times this can look like you're asking God to do something you haven't prepared for yourself to be a good steward in. Yeah. You're asking God to bring you a godly spouse when you're not living godly. You're asking God to bring you a disciplined spouse when you're not disciplined. You're asking God to blank, 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 blank when you're not blank, blank, blank. Like, that's the whole point here.
And that's a really big struggle. I'm going to call out the ladies here of like, I want a man who, spits Bible verses when he stubs his toe and basically has a seminary degree and is so well versed in the word. And it's like, but what's your knowledge of the word? Like, are you praying through scripture? Like, how many books of the Bible have you memorized? Like, for you to say he's not spiritual enough because he doesn't cry and during worship and God, at church, and like he's not on his hands and knees and all these different things. And you may be doing those things and you may think, oh, I serve and I do this and I'm a leader at my church. And those things are great, and like do those things if that's what the Lord's calling you to do. We need people to do those things. But it doesn't mean that who you're looking for has to do the same exact things. And like, even if you're more concerned with what he's able to do versus more about who you are and like, oh, are you on my level, and all those things, and you're asking for something that you're not even doing yourself, and saying, kind of thinking you're like higher and mightier than you actually are, and like realizing just because you have certain accolades or accomplishments or kind of like leadership levels doesn't mean you're more like spiritually mature, because he may be a leader at his job, not at his church, but do you know that he's mentoring the men that are at his job and like teaching them about God's word and teaching them, maybe he reads one verse a day, but he's chewing on that verse the entire day, listening to it, reading it, meditating on it, talking to the Lord about it, and it's growing in him, versus, oh, I just read, a whole book in one day. It's like, what did you do? And it's like, that competitive nature and spirit is not even godly.
Yeah, so the whole point here is to not idolize love, but start becoming someone who loves well. And here's a really great question you can ask yourself to help you know, like, am I idolizing love? Mm-hmm. Are you preparing to love or just to be loved? There's a difference.
Giving and receiving.
There's a difference between preparing yourself to love somebody else than just, I'm just waiting for somebody to love me. So that's a really good question. Number 4, you're not single because you're too much, quote unquote. You're single because you've made a habit of lowering your standards.
Yeah. This is a really good one because I know, you guys know I have a very loud, extroverted personality, and there was a time when I definitely felt like, I have to kind of taper myself down and kind of hold back, or else no one's gonna want to be with me. And even feeling I had too much student loan debt, and I had this and I had that, all these things that were wrong with me, and kind of talking myself out of feeling I deserved anything that was loving, if I'm being honest, and kind of wanted to hold back sometimes, and kind of I know a lot of women struggle with this, the temptation to have to shrink yourself and become small, and I'm too ambitious, I'm too accomplished, men are going to be intimidated by me, and thinking you're just overall too much. And it's no, who God has for you, is gonna love that about you. And I know that you did a good job of that with me even now, of you don't have to, you're not too talkative. God made you literally told me this last week of God made you exactly how you're supposed to be. Don't, just because I'm not as talkative as you doesn't mean that there's nothing that you have to hold back or be who you're not.
Yeah, and let me just say this, because we like to keep it real. We talking about giving 10% on this podcast. Because everything you just said is true. I absolutely told you that and I meant it. But that doesn't always mean on the receiving end, we're talking about not just trying to be loved, but learning how to love somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Every time Pauline wants to talk for a long time, I don't want to hear it, if we're just being honest. But in those moments, I have to be willing to surrender to my flesh in order to allow her to do what she needs. There's times where you have to push past your own desires and allow your spouse to do what is helpful for them. And I think that's a lot of times, I talked to you about this the other day, I think a lot of reasons why people get divorced is because one or both persons were not willing to die to their flesh enough to make the relationship work. And the Bible talks about how marriage is a reflection of how Christ died for the church. It's not always pretty having a healthy relationship, but it is worth it to do it right and to lay down your needs sometimes and to love your partner, because they're only going to love you better.
Right. Because when you start to lower your standards and in order to, or shrinking yourself and feeling, I have to hold back. And obviously we're not talking about you blurting out all of your life, on the first date. We're talking about it has to be appropriate for, the level of commitment that your relationship is at. But you shouldn't have to lower your standards and say, if I am, people tell me because we've heard from some of you all saying I have a PhD, and people are telling me that I need to, not talk about having a PhD, or I need to kind of hold that back, or not, expect to be with somebody else who has a PhD, who is as decorated or accomplished as I am. And sure, there could be some truth to that, but it's not about necessarily your standards being too high and I have to marry somebody else who's a PhD, but it's more about I want to marry somebody who loves to learn. And you may not have a PhD or any type of degree, but you read books every week, you are your librarian's favorite person, you have a bunch of Amazon books from Amazon, you love to read and learn, you listen to podcasts, that's what it's about. That's really what it comes down to, not because you've achieved some type, because access and all those things are different for everybody, but it's not about and it's not about being with somebody who's going to say, your PhD doesn't intimidate me. It's about saying wow, that's amazing that you went out and you accomplished something that you set out to accomplish. I very much respect that, because your standards are not going to be too high for the right person for you, or the right type of person for you. There are a lot of guys out there who are very secure in themselves, who love God, who make good money, who are thriving in their careers, and they don't have PhDs, they don't have degrees, and they would love to marry a woman who loves God and has a PhD if she has one. It's because they respect what you've done, because they have something that they respect for themselves. We can't be so kind of even exchange with our standards, you know what I mean, in order to protect our security. You can very much be secure and not have equal or mirrored accomplishments.
Yeah. Number 5, if you're leading people on because you're lonely, you're out of order. Period.
That's on, what do they say? That's on period. That's on.
Just leave it alone. So it's not emotional purity. Just
clock it. That's what they say. Clock it.
I said leave it alone. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not emotional purity just because you didn't sleep with them. Flirting for attention is still selfish. Like, we get kind of the big sins in our minds sometimes are like, as long as I'm not doing this, I'm good with God.
Right.
It's like, God did not like the fact that you were flirting with that person that you had no intention to be with,
Yeah,
no intention to really like,
attention.
because you were selfishly trying to use them for attention, because he cares about their heart just as much as he cares about your heart. And what you just did to their heart hurt them in ways that you don't even know.
Right.
So don't do that.
Yeah.
Period. I think we could move on unless you want to add something there, because that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Golden rule. Treat other people the way you want to be treated.
Number 6, God won't save a relationship you built in rebellion and kept in secret. If you have to hide the relationship, if you have to lie about it, if you keep saying, we're working on it, it's time to repent, not save it. A lot of times we know the person that we with or doing stuff with is not honoring the Lord, but it feels good.
It feels good.
So we're trying to keep doing it, and that's not who you really want to be. You don't really want to. If you're watching this podcast, it's because deep down somewhere inside there's a part of you that wants to have a relationship that truly honors the Lord. Mm-hmm. So if you're doing things in a relationship that's ungodly, or if you're somebody who is intentionally not seeking out mentorship because there's little things in your relationship that you don't want them to know about, stop it. Like, now's your chance. You can decide, today is the last day I'm ever going to move like that.
Yeah, and Proverbs 28:13 tells us that whoever conceals their sin does not prosper. And the Bible also tells us that I think it's James, that whenever we confess our sins to one another, that's when we're healed. And it can be very hard to do, but it's so worth it. The enemy would love for you to stay in darkness. He would love for you to, keep things to yourself, because he wants you to hurt and he wants you to walk with a limp. But God is like, hey, if you confess this, then you can be healed from it, and then you can run again at full speed, and with full strength, everything that I have for you. But anytime you have to lie, if you're with somebody who's asking you to lie, not good. They're not for you. That's a selfish thing to do. Detrimental. It's a character flaw, and that's not something that you want to be in. And a lot of times people do, we date and we make decisions without God because our feelings are really high and really strong, and then when we look up and we realize, like, dang, what did I do? This relationship is a mess. I've been there. And we ask the Lord to bless it, and he's like, I never told you to do that. And you have to completely, remove yourself from that situation if you really want the Lord's blessing. And, that happens, honestly. A lot of marriages are built that way, where it's like, yeah, you make a mess, you get married, and you're like, Lord, help. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to help you. But there's a lot of things to undo. And kind of go back and heal from. It's kind of like when you push off going to the doctor or going to the dentist, and it's like so much worse than it was supposed to be if you would have just gotten help like immediately, or even like got a preventative help, or did things to prevent the issue from happening. So just walk in the light. Don't be a child of darkness.
Number 7, dating is not your purpose. You were not created to get married exclusively. You were you were created to build God's kingdom.
Yeah.
Dating should support your purpose, not replace it. And I remember before we got together, after I got saved, I was like pressed low key for a little bit to be in a relationship. Like every 5 seconds,
wow, that's a very short attention span.
Is this girl somebody I should be trying to get with? Is this girl somebody I should be trying to get with? Do I like them? Let's talk. Are we talking? Are we not? And it's just like, bro,
ADD.
Chill out. Like, you want it too bad. Some of you probably want to date too bad. And that may sound weird, but it's like, the Lord's not going to give you something that he knows is going to destroy you. Like, he knows if he gave you that job that you would no longer spend time with him. You would be focused on making money or spending money or doing something that's going to take you completely away from him. Some of you want to date too bad. You want a relationship so bad, and as soon as you get that relationship, no longer are you going to talk to the Lord. You're going to be so focused on that person, it's going to drive you away from him. Why would he give that to you if he knows it's not best for you? And I found myself there. I actually got to the place in my love life before we got together where I had to get to a place where I was like, now listen, when you're young, you say a lot of dumb stuff.
Oh, gosh.
So I was like 21 when I said this. But I was like, Lord, I don't care. If I don't start dating until I'm 25, I'm cool with that. Like, in my head, 25 was old. But the point was, my heart was like, Lord, I'm okay not dating right now.
Yeah.
I'm okay if if you and me just work this thing out and we just get closer. Like, that's cool with me. And literally, like, a few months later, that's when we started talking. Now, I'm definitely not saying that's going to be your story. If you say that today, Lord, I don't care if I get married till I'm 45. I'm not saying that that's going to like be your story that in a few months from now.
Releasing it and surrendering it is helpful.
Yes, and it's necessary because you don't want anything in your life that could potentially lead you further away from the Lord. And he's definitely not going to give it to you if that's the case.
Yeah, and for those of you who are already in a dating relationship, you can ask yourself, is your relationship fueling your purpose or fighting against it? Like, you should not have been on fire for the Lord and been like super excited about what God has called you to do, and then when you got in a relationship, all that stuff slowed down and you were like derailed from it, distracted from it. It's like, oh, I haven't done that thing that God told me to do since I got in a relationship. And it's like, no, your relationship should be assisting and supporting whatever it is the Lord told you to do. If it's from God, it shouldn't distract you from being on mission, from the Lord. It should honestly your relationship should make it better.
Yeah. Number 8, again, 10 things we would tell you if we didn't care if we offended you. Number 8, waiting, quote unquote, isn't noble if you're not doing anything with the wait. The whole point here is that God's not really slow in responding to us, but some of us are spiritually lazy, or we're just not preparing or being expectant that God will bring us a relationship, so we're not doing anything. Or all we're doing is reading books or listening to sermons. I think there's a lot of practical things you can do to prepare yourself to have a healthy relationship before you ever even meet somebody.
Right.
Which means you're doing that in your friendships. You're doing that in your family. You're doing that on teams you serve on at church. You're using every opportunity you can to refine your own character, knowing that that's going to make you a better spouse one day. What does that look like? Your brother or sister or cousin or whatever gets on your nerves. They say something that annoys you and you respond quickly in a way that's not helpful. Let's just say that, because sometimes it's not even necessarily sin. You said something sinful, but you just said something that is not going to help a conversation get better. You said something honestly to get under their skin. Having the self-awareness to know that you were wrong, go back to that person and apologize is very important skill for you to learn, because you're going to need to do that in marriage. There's times where I know something will get on Pauline's nerves and I may say it or do it, and I probably shouldn't. I have to have the self-awareness to know I was wrong, repent to the Lord, go back to Pauline, apologize, and then try to make it work. My point is using the relationships that God has already given you to train yourself on how to have healthy relationships will only prepare you more for when God does bring your person to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's a reminder too that faith that works is dead. So we can't say, oh God, we're believing you to, send a relationship, send a godly relationship, but we're not doing anything to prepare for it. We're not doing anything to, kind of be ready for it. So you cannot, it's just the same way you've heard a lot of times, you can't pray for a husband, pray for a wife, and you don't leave your basement. Like, you have to get out there and meet people and, provide, kind of be on the search. Like, our faith is one that's active, not passive.
So number 9, this is, you've actually found somebody, you're talking or you're dating, and you keep asking yourself, is this person the one?
That's y'all's favorite question.
But the real question should be, am I the one? Am I the one yet? Am I developing into someone yet? Am I doing anything to add value to this relationship? So before you start interviewing somebody, stop and evaluate yourself and say, have I prepared to co-lead in this relationship? And we talked about that a little bit already through other points, but once you're actually in a relationship, asking yourself that question can be helpful as well. Because now you actually, it's one thing to hear about, oh, don't have sex before dating when you're not dating anybody.
Yeah, but then a chance to go.
But then once you are dating, you're like, oh, like, I actually have a chance where I could do something stupid. Like, how do I actually navigate this? That's something that you want to be mindful of and evaluate. Number 10 things we would tell you if we weren't afraid to offend you. Holiness will cost you some dates, but it will break the cycle of drama and dysfunction and sin that you may have found yourself in.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
And it could even potentially save you from divorce if you are marrying for the right reasons. And that's only because holiness, not that holiness prevents sin in your marriage, or prevents you or your future spouse from making mistakes or having arguments. It's because it's a constant reminder and space for the Lord to occupy your marriage, and reverencing him and fearing him in your marriage. And like, it's very hard to make space for holiness, make space for God in your marriage if you didn't do it already in dating.
Yeah, so please do not trade short-term attention or satisfaction for long-term anointing in your life. And that's a very spiritual word, but really just don't trade the short-term for the long-term when you are going to set yourself up for consequences that are going to distract you from being able to do all that God wanted to do, because now you got to deal with the pain and trauma of your past. So now you've been slept around with a bunch of people, and once you actually do find the one, now you're in marriage wondering why you can't fully enjoy sex because you're thinking about all the other people and all the other moves that you done learned. And it's like, if you would have just not even gone there, you wouldn't have to deal with that in your future. We don't think long term enough.
Yeah, I mean, God always is, and that's why he set a lot of the principles, all the principles that he set for us, is because in the long run it's better. And we, classic Adam and Eve in the garden is God, being the enemy offering opportunity. Did God really know what he was talking about? Did God really mean those are old rules? It's 2025. You can protect yourself from STDs nowadays. And it's like, that's really not the point.
Well, the enemy only wants you to focus on lack.
Yes.
Because his goal is to distract you from all the abundance that God has already given you. Like, God only gives us abundance. Even if it doesn't look like it, he's given us abundance. And we have to realize that, okay, if God's telling me not to do something, it's because what me not doing that would lead me to is actually a lot better. So I would actually have a lot more peace. I would actually have a lot more confidence in myself if I didn't do some of the things that the Lord is telling me not to do for some reason.
Yeah.
So you're not missing out by honoring God. You're actually gaining. You're gaining more peace. You're gaining more clarity. You're gaining more truth. You're gaining more stability in your love life.
Yeah, because the truth is, everyone wants the blessing, but not many people are willing to set and follow boundaries. And we've talked about this in previous episodes with you all, about how like it can look so good, and like, other people are not following God and they're getting married, and I'm over here, following God and not married yet. And it seems like, is it really worth it to be holy? And it is. And just because you don't see what's going on behind closed doors in those people's relationships and marriages, like people are out here posting pictures, they're in Cabo, they're here, they're there, but they're also having really nasty arguments, behind closed doors. They don't feel loved, they don't feel seen, they're afraid. And they're also far from God because they're ignoring him and they want what they can see right now in front of their face. It's kind of like the whole thing of like, delayed gratification, and like you rather have what you can see right now versus waiting for something that's better. And, if you feel like you're an outcast, or you feel like, man, like I'm the only one pursuing God. I'm the only one who's willing to live a holy life as a single person, as a dating person. Number one, that's not true. I mean, would love for you to think that, but it's just really not true. And that's why it's really important, you know, that you dial in here. And like, you know, we have such a great community here at Just Dating of like people who want to keep it fun and holy. And you are not alone. And like, we love you guys over here. And we're so excited and proud of you. But it's also a good sign if you feel that way, because the Lord has called us to be set apart. And the Bible tells us to not conform to the pattern of this world. So if you feel like, okay, people around you at your job, sometimes even your family, are looking at you like, oh girl, like how could you pass up so-and-so? Like he's so cute, he's got this, he's got that, he's making good money, like what's wrong with you? And it's like, he doesn't respect, number one, God or me and my body and my boundaries. So like, no, I'm not going to go out with your, you know, your nephew just because he checks all these, you know, kind of superficial boxes. Like that's great, but like he's not for me. Like I know that God has more for me. Bless you. So even though that's a hard thing to do, and you absolutely can cry in your room, and you absolutely can like feel sad about that like you're passing up dates and passing up people who are interested in you because they do not fit the standard of holiness, but like God sees that, and it's not a chance that you're missing out on. It's not a loss, it's a seed. Like it's a seed that you're planting, and like the Lord is going to water it, and it's going to grow, and it's going to bear fruit one day.
Yeah, so if you're watching this and you did feel convicted and felt like you're missing it in some of these points, like the good news is the Lord is not looking at you like, oh, I can't believe you messed up. He's looking at you like, now that you know, you have an opportunity to turn to me and give it to me. And he's right there waiting to have that conversation with you and waiting to help you now move forward. So if you feel convicted, don't feel condemned. Just feel encouraged that now you have the tools and now you know better so you can do better. So take some time if you need to, talk to the Lord, be honest with him. And remember, he wants to have a relationship with you. So actually let him talk to you and speak to you and encourage you. And he'll let you know how proud he is of you, that you're ready to actually honor him in your love life. So this has been another episode of the W Podcast. If you are somebody who is dating right now and you're like, I am encouraged and like want to continue learning how to grow in a godly relationship, send us a DM on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. See y'all next week.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this video.
To get more Christian relationship advice, subscribe to our channel.
And make sure you check out our other videos as well.